Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB throughout the championship meet. The Gulfstream Park Championship meet runs now through the early April Florida Derby weekend, featuring high-quality racing throughout. Once again, we'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship. Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. As always on a Sunday morning, we'll recap some of yesterday's nice stakes action. We'll do a little handicapping. A little bit later on, Frank Vespe from the Racing Biz will join us because part of that stakes action yesterday, and we previewed it yesterday with John Piasek. Nice stakes day down at Laurel yesterday, and Frank Vespe was down there, so we'll recap some of that Laurel action, which on a day that at this time of year, a strange Saturday with no major Kentucky Derby prep, but maybe we saw a Kentucky Derby contender in the 3-year-old race down at Laurel. It seems like that may be where the connections are headed now. But again, we'll talk about those races a little bit later on. Don't forget, here at the Clubhouse Racebook today, boy, the tournament continues. Princeton, nice win there. No Pete Carroll these days, but they're still playing great in the tournament. Arkansas had a nice win yesterday. So the tournament's been a lot of fun, and the action is all available right here at the Clubhouse Racebook. Horse racing and hoops. You can come down, watch the games, put your name on the score grid, and if you match the score, you get to spin the prize wheel. And I know Thursday and Friday we had some $100 winners out there, so $100 vouchers. So come on down today, put your name on the board. Maybe you can have a little extra fun. I know Friedella's is also doing some food specials tied into the tournament, so you can come down, grab a little lunch or a little afternoon snack and enjoy all the college basketball and all the horse racing. That's right here, Clubhouse Racebook this afternoon, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. I'll also alert you that next weekend there is a syndicate. If you're not familiar with the syndicate concept, essentially we put a team together. Everybody chips in $25. OTB puts in another $250, and that allows for a nice $750 pick 5 ticket. Everybody that makes the team gets to put in selections. Then those are all parsed out to put the ticket together. And so for a $25 investment, you get in on a large pick 5 ticket that has the potential to knock it out of the park. And we've had some of those syndicates do very, very well. Syndicate, again, will be next Sunday, but I mentioned it today because the signups will open up today just about noontime. Go to capitalotb.com, click on the promotions link, and then look for that Pick 5 Syndicate banner and click on that. There'll be an entry form. And again, that will go live right around noontime today if you'd like to jump into the syndicate. Keep that in mind. All right, let's, speaking of jumping in, let's jump into some stakes action from yesterday, and we'll kick things off in New York, where there was an overwhelming favorite. Field of 6 in the Cicada, $100,000 up for grabs, 3-year-old fillies sprinting, and Linda Rice for Lady Sheila, the La Verdad team from a few years ago. And this is actually a Lady Sheila homebred as well, but they had Downtown Mischief 2 for 2 to begin the career, and yesterday went off as the 1-2 favorite. I like Downtown Mischief. Just looked to have the edge off the first 2 wins. We looked at the buyers, and they had a little bit of an edge. Hot Little Thing was coming in off a couple of stakes tries in Indiana as an Indiana bred. So question mark was going to be, how is this Indiana form going to translate to facing Open Company in the Cicada? But Hot Little Thing was a little bit interesting and went off as the second choice at 5-2. I put Fabulous Funny in the second spot. Tony Dutrow horse coming out of a maiden breaker in only the second career start. And Tappin' Josie is actually going to wind up second when we watch the replay here. Tappin' Josie will be the number one horse at 9-1. I didn't use Tappin' Josie, but came in with a 3-race win streak, including a little stakes win last time at Parks. The numbers looked a little light, but numbers are only part of the equation. And so it was a nice second place finish from Tappin' Josie, running a little green too, because that is Downtown Mischief in front. She's getting maybe a little short late, but as I say, running green, Tappin' Josie floats out to the middle of the track. I'm not sure, even if she'd run straight and true, whether she would have gotten there, but it might have been a little bit closer as Tappin' Josie, and I say runs greenly. That she was the second most experienced in the field with 10 starts going into yesterday. But again, I ignored her a little bit, as did the betting public at 9-1. Despite the fact that she had the 3-race win streak, including the stakes win in the latest. She completes the exact, with the short price on top, even with the 9-1 underneath, it didn't knock it out of the park. You got just over $11 on the exact, $3 even for Downtown Mischief. But Downtown Mischief, interesting to watch as she goes through the season. Is she going to be one we'll see in the test? I'm not sure. It's hard to decide what kind of class you have for a horse at this time of the year, racing down in New York, and with the 3 straight wins, that certainly bodes well for the future. But as I say, it's hard to know exactly what we have off of performances like this. 3 starts, maiden breaker in the debut, optional claiming, non-winners of 1 in the second start. Now third start steps in, wins the stakes race. Again, it was Jose Lescano and Linda Rice, and Linda Rice is on just an absolute roll. She has now won. She won this stakes race. Early in the day, she was going for the New York record of 8 straight winners, not 8 straight races, but 8 straight consecutive winners as a trainer. So the races were spaced out going back to last Saturday or Sunday, I think that streak started. And she had it up to 7, but then in the third race, her horses didn't connect. So the streak was broken, but she's still having again, going back to, I believe, last Sunday, kind of kicked things off here. She's 10 for her last 16 starters, 10 wins for the last 16 starters, but 4 races she doubled up in. So she's 10 for the last 12 races she's had horses entered in. So Linda Rice on quite a roll currently, and that includes yesterday's Cicada with the nice victory from Downtown Mischief. All right, let's move on. Some nice stakes action as well yesterday at Gulfstream Park. The Silks Run, 5 furlongs on the grass for the older horses. I went with Yes, I Am Free. I was kind of surprised at the morning line, but the morning line held up 7-2 on the morning line, and we actually went at 9-2. I was perfectly happy with that. Yes, I Am Free. I was surprised because this horse was coming in with a 2-race win streak, and Yes, I Am Free is the number 6 horse. And right here, I felt pretty good. I thought, but then on the outside, the momentum for the 7-5 race favorite. I still thought here, maybe I'm going to gut it out. But Big Invasion, who a talented runner, but coming back from a long layoff, I was willing to take a little shot against that when I had it down in the 3rd spot. But Big Invasion just too good. This was, I've talked about it before. Dean Reeves, as an owner, had a really nice 2022, including a nice 2022 up at Saratoga. And this horse was part of that with a couple of stakes wins up at Saratoga. Won the Quick Call, won the Mahoney, and then went down and tried a turf sprint stake at Kentucky Downs and ran 3rd. They were a little bit disappointed with that effort, but Big Invasion, 6 before yesterday, 6 wins, a 2nd and a 3rd, and 8 starts. So 6 wins and 8 starts. And again, with a 2nd and a 3rd there as well, had been a very nice performer. All in age-restricted races because all 8 starts were last year as a 3-year-old. Those stakes victories I talked about up at Saratoga, as well as the other races, including some other stakes, were again against 3-year-olds only. So coming back from a long layoff, going in against older horses for the first time. Again, I took a modest shot against Big Invasion, thinking, Yes, I Am Free coming out of the nice stakes victory in the last start in the Gulfstream Park Turf Sprint. Had the recency, was in good form, and as I say, as we watched top of the stretch, I thought, oh, I got it here at 9-2. And even midway through the stretch, I still thought, Big Invasion, too much to do. But that was a nice comeback there for, again, the Dean Reeves owned Big Invasion. Christophe Clement trained, Joel Rosario on board. He will be a lot of fun to watch this year sprinting on the turf. Yes, I Am Free. That was a nice performance. Just got run down from a horse that has the potential to be a little bit of a monster in there. So the Silks run, again, I would think bodes well for the rest of the year when having at least a couple of performers who you would think will be interesting and probably notable players in the turf sprint division. Also on the card yesterday, we saw some 3-year-olds. These were not, as I said yesterday, no major Derby preps. And we talked about it yesterday. Anthony Mormino mentioned it on the Handicappers Report. The Hutchison used to be kind of on the trail to the Florida Derby and maybe the Kentucky Derby, but now it seems to have parsed out over the, last decade or more perhaps. But certainly now there is a subdivision of 3-year-old sprinters, and the Hutchison plays more into that subdivision now than thinking, okay, we're looking at horses that may plan to stretch out. And Super Chow is not. This is not a horse headed to the Derby. We're more Woody Stevens and that type of race for Super Chow. Super Chow came into yesterday 5 wins, a second and a third, and 7 career starts. 2 for 3 at Gulfstream. 1 second at Gulfstream, and that was last time in the Swale when stretching to 7 furlongs, ran second to the talented General Jim. With the scratches, we were down to a field of 4. That left Super Chow as the 1-5 favorite. I landed there. Was master of the obvious, but I thought, again, with the return to 6 furlongs as opposed to the 7 furlongs last time, that would be beneficial. Super Chow broke a little slowly, and Pete Aiello noted, kind of having to run out of his style from the back of the pack. But Chantal Sutherland on board got Super Chow rolling on the turn. You could see there was really no sweat if you were using the horse at the very short price yesterday. Gets it done. The chart margin winds up to be over 5 lengths at 1-5. Gets it done. I will say the longest price on that. It's funny how that happened. Short field, longest price on the board did complete the exacta, but in a 4-horse field with a $2.40 horse on top, you still only wound up with $6, a little under $7 for your exacta in there. But Super Chow, again, another horse that you would think on the Gulfstream card yesterday comes out of it being a horse that will be a player in his subdivision as the year goes along. 3-year-old sprinters, again, I would expect to see this one up in Saratoga perhaps, but certainly Woody Stevens you would think is somewhere on the agenda. And so both of the stakes yesterday down at Gulfstream having implications. Again, they're little subdivisions as the year plays forward. A couple of nice stakes down at Oaklawn yesterday, too. And again, these stakes will also play into the year as it plays out, including moving on at Oaklawn, because, again, this was just one stop on their stakes program that leads to the big racing on Arkansas Derby weekend in the various divisions. And the winner here is going to be a lot of fun. And we kind of knew that after the win last time in the Razorback. But it's the coach, Wayne Lucas. I used Classic Causeway. I thought Classic Causeway was intriguing for Kenny McPeak. Hadn't been seen since trying the Bryan Station at Keeneland last October on the turf. And the last, 5 races for Classic Causeway were on the turf. But has a lot of speed, has dirt form underneath, and was coming up from Fairgrounds off of 2 very nice workouts. So I thought, I'll take a little shot with Classic Causeway, expecting a price. Now, the horse was 15-1 on the morning line. Everybody else thought the way I did. Horse goes up at 7-2. as the second choice. Yeah, the second choice. So didn't quite get the 15-1. I was surprised at the odds, but Classic Causeway, the number 5 horse, right there all the way around, just could not hold off Last Samurai, however. Again, Wayne Lucas and Last Samurai come in off a win in the Razorback last time. They're aimed, I would think, for the Oaklawn handicap. But a nice run from Classic Causeway. Again, in the return, hadn't been seen since turfing in October. Nice performance there with the second place finish. Running third, Forza Dioro. Vittorio runs fourth. Silver Prospector, a little bit disappointing, running sixth. And Rated R Superstar runs seventh in there. So there were some other notable names. Tawny Port, fifth. I was a little bit intrigued by Tawny Port as well. Second start of the 4-year-old season, but on the numbers, he seemed a little slow, and that's kind of the way it worked out as well. But Classic Causeway, again, I had the horse on top. I was expecting a little more than the 7-2 second choice price. I don't know whether we were going to get the morning line of 15-1, but the betting public, I think, saw what I did. The two nice workouts said the return to dirt and that early speed would be very beneficial, and that's the way it worked out. But Last Samurai, again, just fun to see Wayne Lucas with a nice big horse that, again, likely headed to the big older division stakes race coming up at the end of the meet down at Oaklawn. But then you would have to think we'll pick some spots the rest of the year. Wayne Lucas, no stranger to Saratoga. Who knows? Maybe Last Samurai Whitney up at Saratoga. We'll see how that plays out. But it's always fun. It was fun to have Wayne Lucas sit on the set with me up at Saratoga last year. And again, we'll see what's in the future for Last Samurai. But so far, so good with the Razorback victory and the Essex yesterday down at Oaklawn. Oaklawn also a little earlier on the card featured the Whitmore. I had Howard Kravitz on with me yesterday from the HHH podcast, and we were handicapping these stakes. He liked Tejano Twist and laid it out, and I didn't disagree with his thoughts. I used edge to edge on top, a lot of speed from edge to edge. Howard thought edge to edge may, bang heads early with some of the other speed, and that may, wind up costing those early speedsters. Edge to Edge is number 4 horse here. Tejano Twist, Howard thought, may come from behind, and there you can see the number 2 horse doing just that. And Edge to Edge did knock heads early with Cogburn, the Asmussen sprinter. Cogburn faded. Edge to Edge ran very well and stayed right there until late, and getting caught for a second as well by Miles Ahead, another one that made up a little late ground. So again, I used Edge to Edge. I liked the run, top of the stretch. I thought if he's got it, but he had knocked heads with Cogburn. But I still thought, I think as we got up 50 yards or so into the stretch, I thought maybe we'll make it. But then you could see Tejano Twist on the outside was kind of winding up and was going to make the most of it. And that's the way it worked out. Tejano Twist was coming out of a second behind Gunite in the King Cotton back in January. Gunite, of course, went over to Saudi Arabia and ran very well, kind of validated that performance. Tejano Twist, I had Tejano Twist right in the mix as well. As I said, I kind of agreed with Howard's thought process. I had the contrarian view that maybe Edge to Edge would sneak away, and if he did, then would be tough to reel in. But it played out. Cogburn and Edge to Edge did kind of go, banging heads there, which clearly cost Edge to Edge late. Tejano Twist, Francisco Arrieta on board. Chris Hartman was the trainer. Dave Grenig, remotely, I'm assuming, covered the stakes down at Oaklawn yesterday in his Daily Racing Form follow-up article. He noted this was the first graded stakes victory for trainer Chris Hartman, who's having an excellent meet down at Oaklawn, but the first graded stakes victory yesterday in the Grade 3 Whitmore since winning with Elsvid in the Grade 3 Aristides at Churchill back in 2016. So nice little accomplishment for a trainer, again, who's having a very good Oaklawn meet. Now, in the interim, Greg noted in his article, Chris Hartman has won 25 listed stakes races, so he's not on a stakes race drought, but it's been a while since he'd won a graded stakes race, so congratulations to those connections. Nice run from Tejano Twist. Chris Hartman noted that the most likely next start would be, again, on that trail down in Arkansas, the various divisions. The Count Fleet $500,000 grade 3 comes up on April 15th, and they'll probably take a look at that as the next start for Tejano Twist. So again, a nice stakes day down at Oaklawn yesterday. Last Samurai is going to be, and again, a few horses that'll be interesting watching going forward in their various divisions, but particularly maybe Last Samurai and Classic Causeway, but Last Samurai with currently the dean of American trainers, I suppose, Wayne Lucas. And again, we can keep our fingers crossed that some of these will show up right in our neighborhood up the road at Saratoga this summer. And I don't think that's out of the question for the majority of the horses I mentioned there. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll do a little handicapping for Sunday afternoon. A little bit later on, we'll shift our attention. Nice stakes day at Laurel yesterday. And again, the 3-year-old stake may play along the Derby Trail, given what the connections had to say after the race. We'll look at that and more a little bit later on. But after the break, we'll come back, do a little handicapping for this Sunday afternoon. All of that when Racing Across America continues. Stay tuned.
This is a championship meet. All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them. You get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow in the studio. As noted before the break, we'll take a little look at some of the action this afternoon. Late pick 5 at Aqueduct. And I just checked around. Sometimes this time of the morning you can look, and on Twitter or whatnot, they may have listed various spots, some of the scratches I haven't seen yet. So again, keep that in mind. And again, I'm going to look at late pick 5, not handing out a ticket. Particularly, again, with no scratches known at this point. We'll just kind of go through the sequence and give some ideas on a Sunday afternoon. The late pick 5 at Aqueduct will kick off in race number 5. Today's 5th race is an allowance non-winners of 1 other than 3/4 of a mile is the trip. And in the 5th at Aqueduct, I have it 5, 4, 3, and 6. Majority partner, 8-5 on the morning line will certainly take some action. Why? Trained by Linda Rice, who again is on the roll. Our colleague Anthony Mormino has talked about it now for a few months, and it does seem like, anecdotally anyway, to me, it happens maybe more in the winter at Aqueduct, where he says he's now charting a bar graph to see which trainers get on that little bit of a roll over a condensed period of time. And again, given the numbers I tossed out earlier on Linda Rice, that the bar graph is going off the chart for her over the last 4 racing days down in New York. But she has majority partner coming in in very good form. 3 wins, a couple of second-place finishes in the last 5 starts. Now, 3 of those go back to Saratoga and also a little September, laid off from September until February of this year. The 2 comeback efforts, a win and a close-up second-place finish. This is a non-winners of 1. Majority partner is a state-bred who has won 3 times already, including going through a state-bred non-winners of 2 other than. But given those were restricted races, able to get in here. So good form, fits nicely, makes sense, will be a short price, but does make sense. If you're looking for an alternative, however, I think Prisoner is competitive in here with the early speed, may try to steal it. And if this horse does get away, could be tough to reel in late. Now, Majority Partner also has a little bit of early punch that I don't think Prisoner will get to sneak away too far, but that's always a possibility when you have that early speed. So that's one to maybe take a look at a little bit of a price. Joey Freshwater, lightly raced runner from Linda Rice, becomes the other Linda Rice, because certainly Majority Partner will take the action. So the other horse being the longer price of an uncoupled entry. Probably has to step it up a little bit to get to the barn mate, but with only the 4 career starts, I don't think that's out of the question. Tried the Jimmy Winkfield last time and ran 3rd. Gets back to the more proper level today. I think Joey Freshwater playable. Trash Talker for Rob Atras. I could make the case there as well, but that one with some early speed also. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Majority Partner does have a little bit of early speed. Prisoner, I think, is the one that is likely to be sent, but Trash Talker has some speed. You could make the case to look around and find the horse. Handsome Cat coming from just off the pace last time, maybe one to pick up the pieces if things fall apart. I just have the feeling that the Majority Partner with early speed is not a need for the lead type, and just maybe a little bit better than these and can do a little bit of a stalk and pounce and have the edge in here. But we'll see. The 5th at Aqueduct, 5, 4, 3, and 6. 6th race at Aqueduct this afternoon. We're looking at plain vanilla $25,000 claimers. They will travel 6.5 furlongs, 5, 6, 3, and 7 for me. I'm going to put Outlaw Country on top. Relatively lightly raced 3-year-old with only 6 starts so far. 4 of those were as a 2-year-old, but now has come back and had a couple of starts this season. Broke the maiden 3 starts back for a 40 tag. Then they went into an optional claimer. Started the season, optional claimer, starter allowance, going a mile. So, A, it was a little salty, that group. B, the mile distance may not be what this horse is asking for. So the 6.5 today, and coming back for the $25,000 tag after having won for 7 at a $32,000 tag last time. I think they're just being clever. They put some money in the bank. The horse already has $77,000 in the bank. They bought this horse, a couple years ago at auction for 25. They have 77 in the bank. They win this race and gets claimed away. They're in good shape here, but I think they're in a cozy spot given this horse's form and the class level in here. Star Attitude in the 2nd spot. Carlos Martin, trainee. Carlos is having a pretty good Aqueduct meet as well. Broke the maiden 2 back for a 20 tag going a mile. Dropped back to the 6 furlongs last time and went into a $16,000 non-winners at 2. Was a well-beaten 3rd in there, but a lot of times that first start after the maiden, you're just getting some experience against winners or limited winners. And again, that was an N2L. And I'm just looking. This is a plain vanilla claimer, but I don't think, you have Valenzen Day has 3 wins. Outlaw Country has a couple of wins. Everybody else just has the lone maiden breaker, however. So it's not a conditional claimer, but these are not horses that are sporting, many, many wins. 3rd spot, I did put Valenzen Day. The most experienced in the field, yes. Also trained by Linda Rice. 2 starts back, they tried the Jerome. So they were a little bit ambitious there. Excuse me, that was off a claim 3 starts back. So they liked what they saw when they got this one into the barn, popped into the Jerome. That did not work out. Subsequently, in an optional claimer starter allowance, that did not work out. again, I think here, third start off the claim, it's just get a little realistic and see what we can do. If somebody claims it and we get the money, that's fine. And I think Valenzuela Day will be a serious player in here. And I won't be surprised. I'm just looking, the morning line favorite is Valenzuela Day, and I won't be surprised if that's the horse that does take the money. I will say Outlaw Country at my top pick at 7-2. I won't be surprised if that horse takes some action as well and gets a little more attention than the morning line price. But the 6th at Aqueduct, 5, 6, 3, and 7. 7th race at Aqueduct this afternoon. We're looking at optional claimers, non-winners of 3 other than, and I'm just looking to see how many we have in for the tag. A couple are in for the $80,000 tag, the 3 Bourbon Calling, the 7 Southern District. Otherwise, they're in for the condition, non-winners of 3 other than. I have a 3, 6, 7, and 4. I'm going to put Bourbon Calling on top. Was claimed 3 starts back. Has won 2 straight since the claim. So it was a clever claim for the Players Group owners and Antonio Arriaga, trainer. They tried a little bit. They moved up a little bit off the claim. The claim was for 32, and they moved into an optional 62,500 claimer, won that. Then they moved up and tried this company last time and won that. Well, they coming back? Well, they're one of those horses that are in for the tag. So it's a horse in an optional claim or non-winners of 3 other than with 7 wins. One of those wins, again, being at this exact level in a very similar race. Similar, trip and condition last time. So in very good form. Manny Franco hops back on board today. He was on board for the win 2 back. I'll put that one on top. 9-2. I'd be interested to see, again, given this horse won this essential race last time, whether we'll get that 9-2. Did do it at 6-1 in the latest, so we'll see. Favorite untreated at 8-5. It's Todd Pletcher. It's a horse stepping out of Stakes Company. Hasn't been seen since last October, however. And in 2022, 6 starts and no wins. Now, all 6 of those starts, I'm just looking. All 6 of those starts were stakes. So this horse has been facing better. Now they're getting a little bit realistic. They're stepping back into the proper condition here. Maybe just get a little confidence builder to start the season. So I get it why this horse is the favorite. I think by post time, the horse is the favorite as well with that stakes record. But again, off a layoff, no wins last year. I'll take a little pop against with Bourbon Calling. Bourbon Calling over untreated, and then Southern District in the 3rd spot. Claimed last time, goes into the barn of Tom Morley. Off a try against Similar in the latest effort. Led much of the way around before just getting caught. Kendrick Carmouche hops on today. They went 1 1/8 last time. They cut back to the 1-turn mile today, and given the front running style we saw last time, admittedly not blazing fast, but and the horse doesn't typically show that early speed. But if they were to elect to try that again, maybe at the 1-turn mile, becomes interesting from the outside post position. In the 7th at Aqueduct, 3, 6, 7, and 4. Stakes action in the 8th race at Aqueduct, the Damon Runyon for 3-year-old New York breds going 6. I have it 5, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to put Don't Lose Cruise on top. A couple of wins, couple of seconds in 5 starts. The lone off the board finish, however, was last time in the Gander. But the horse was up near the lead before fading to 4th at a mile. Cuts back to the 6 furlongs today. And if you look at the record, the 6 furlongs is, you would assume now, given what we saw at the mile, although you can't necessarily decide on the one race, but you would assume perhaps that the 6 is more in the wheelhouse. So I like the cutback today. We'll look for the cutback to get this horse back into the winner's circle. What's up, bro? A little bit interesting off the latest try, an optional claim or non-winners of 1, but did it with a much improved number. And that number fits squarely with the top pick and with this bunch, and maybe gives this horse an edge if he can manage to put a couple together. Looms boldly in the 3rd spot. Marshall Graham, homebred. Marshall Graham's 10-strike racing. Marshall, I know, friendly with Peter Thomas Fornatal, and that Looms boldly is his Twitter handle. named in honor of after Pete Fornatale. I know Pete was down at Aqueduct in November when the horse got the maiden breaker, because I saw Pete tweeted out. It wouldn't surprise me if Pete. Oh well, no, it would. Now I'm thinking maybe it would surprise me because Pete was at Cheltenham this week, and so I'm wearing the top hat and the tails and whatnot on Twitter. So I don't know that Pete will be there, but looms boldly with only the 3 career starts. Gets a shot at Stakes Company, and I think belongs in here today. Andiamo a Firenze, the Firenze Fire sibling, started the career with some real promise. Broke the maiden in the first start last June at Belmont, then tried the Sanford at Saratoga and ran third, an okay third. Then at Saratoga tried some state-bred Stakes Company and won that. So first 3 starts of the career, a couple of wins, bookending a third in a graded stake. Did show some promise and then just kind of hasn't lived up to that. That said, the last 2 starts were in the Jerome and the Withers, obviously against Open Company as a New York bred, stepping back into New York bred company today. I'm going to be intrigued to see what Andiamo a Firenze does. I put it down in the 4th spot, but an improved effort would not be a shock. So in the 8th race, 5, 1, 2, and 3, and finally wrapping up that late pick 5 at Aqueduct on this Sunday afternoon. Claimers going a mile. I have it 1, 2, 8, and 7. Oh Trouble on top. Off the 3rd start off the claim for David Jacobson. There was an attempted claim last time, but it was voided. And again, you don't know what to make of that, other than it was a win. Was about 5-6 weeks ago, and comes back for a reduced rate. And a drop off the claim normally would leave you a little bit leery, but I'll tell you what, this one, they claimed the horse for 25 and subsequently won 2 races and clearly put some money in the bank. And so the drop here is not as much of a concern as it may be normally. So I'll hope this one, all the wheels are on ready to roll. And I think if so, fits nicely in here. 2nd slot, we'll take a look at My Friend's Beer. Claim 2 back for 16, bounced up to 25 last time. Drops down to 20 today, kind of splits the difference. I think fits okay with this group and should be competitive in here. Bourbon Bay in the 3rd spot. Going to draw a line through the last, was vanned off. We'll find out whether drawing a line through it is correct or not. But I think if you go a little further down the page, there are some races that are good enough in here to compete. So in the 9th and final at Aqueduct, I will admit, there are question marks every direction I went in here. So the confidence level is a little shaky, but in the 9th at Aqueduct, 1, 2, 8, and 7. All right, that takes you through the late pick 5 action at Aqueduct for this Sunday afternoon. Again, we'll be back looking live at that a little bit later on with OTB Live, so we hope you tune in for that. But in the meantime, there were some ideas, and now we'll take a break. And when we come back, we will shift our attention. Laurel yesterday with a nice stakes card, and as I said, perhaps some Kentucky Derby potential coming out of the 3-year-old race on the card. So we'll hit on that and more with our friend Frank Vespe right after this. Stay tuned.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
This is a championship meet.
Yeah.
All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them.
We back.
And you get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
Yeah.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
A lot of good horses come out of here. And if you want to go to the next level, Gulfstream Park was the place to come.
I remember the first time I came to Gulfstream, it was like this big fairy tale place.
all the history. And all these great horses, trainers, jockeys. It was everything that I ever dreamed of.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by our friend Frank Vespe from the RacingBiz.com. If you want to follow racing in the Mid-Atlantic region, no better place than the RacingBiz.com, and that's why we reach out to Frank after these big Laurel race days, because he's typically there, as he was yesterday. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. Good to be with you.
And we had one of your handicappers from the Racing Biz on with us yesterday, John Piasek, looking in preview, and I asked him what the weather was expected to be, and it sounded like a nice, almost spring-like day. Did it turn out that way?
It was sunny. It was a little bit cold, but it was pretty manageable. It was a little strange because it was kind of like every 10 minutes or so, it got either a little colder or a little hotter, but it kept going back and forth. But from a horse racing perspective, the weather was pretty perfect. I mean, the horses, it was the right temperature for horses. It was sunny. It was clear. The track was fast. It was everything you're looking for.
That's what we like to hear, and certainly the racing was very good. We'll get on that in a second, but I had pulled up this morning the Racing Biz, and I was kind of looking around and seeing what you were dipping into. And one of the things I noted, and I'm just curious if bouncing around the track over the last few days or whatnot, the passing of Extra Heat, who, man, she was special and came from that Mid-Atlantic region. I wonder if there was buzz or memories over the past few days about Extra Heat.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about her. I mean, she was a real fan favorite, and I talked with Kenny Taylor, her owner, co-owner, and did a story about that on the RacingBiz.com, and it was such a cool story because she was a cheap horse. She was a $5,000 horse. They started her. Her first race was for $25,000. So another trainer was going to claim her, but didn't get the claim slip in time. And after she won that race, the next 35 starts, I think, of her career, the rest of her career, every start was in a stake. And she won all the little stakes locally, but she took her show on the road a whole bunch of times with a lot of success too. And it was just, it was really, she was a blue collar horse from a blue collar track with blue collar connections who went on and beat the Blue Bloods many times. So it was a very cool story.
Yeah, the whole era, and remember her fondly. And again, your story's on the RacingBiz.com. And just before we move on as well, for folks who aren't paying attention day to day to Laurel Park, always fun to kind of update people on the human side of things. And if folks aren't following Maryland racing regularly, a jockey you have to keep your eyes on, Jaime Rodriguez, who, wow, knocked it out of the park a couple days ago.
Yeah, he may never lose again. He won 7 races on Friday. He won 2 more, including a stake yesterday. The kid can ride, and he hooked up, I guess, a year or 2 ago with Jamie Ness, the trainer, and Ness has 1 million horses, and he wins all the time. So and everybody's using Rodriguez as much as they can. And one trainer said to me, he's like, the kid is really smart. He's smarter than a lot of these other guys, and that helps a lot too. So definitely he's one to keep an eye on.
No question about it. All right, let's get to the stakes action from yesterday. And I said earlier in the show, this is one of those strange weekends at this time of the year where there wasn't a major Kentucky Derby prep somewhere in the country, but it turns out maybe there was, as the connections of the winter kind of are hinting they may head over to Keeneland next and jump on the Derby trail. The private terms yesterday at Laurel for the 3-year-olds. When I was talking to John yesterday, I said I thought David Donk's horse Register was a little bit intriguing and played early, but then wound up 7th in the field of 8 in the stakes debut. So Register, a little bit of a disappointment. But I also mentioned Coffee with Chris coming out of the win in the Miracle Wood. Coffee with Chris went off As the favorite in there, the 8-5 favorite, Coffee with Chris, as we watch the replay, is going to be the number 8 horse. But Kenny McPeak cleverly ships in from most recently at Turfway, but had been working this horse at Keeneland. Hayes Strike, the number 6 horse, gets it done at 8-1. Coffee with Chris second, circling the drain for Brittany Russell runs third. But as I say, looks like Ken McPeak may be headed onto the Derby trail with Hayes Strike.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They're saying they're going to try the bluegrass with him next. And I'll tell you what, the big mystery of the day to me was how Hayes Strike goes off at 8-1 in this race. The horse had no advantage in terms of the buyer figures, but you look at the company lines he's been keeping, and you see Instant Coffee, you see Jace's Road, you see Two Phils. I mean, he had been seeing much better horses than most of his rivals, including particularly Coffee with Chris and How Great Is Nate, who were the favorite and second favorite. So I found that kind of interesting, and I thought Caramanos gives him a really good trip here. He just sits right behind the speed, makes his move when he's ready, and goes on to win. Caramanos said he's a little bit of a lazy horse. You've got to kind of work with him a little bit, but then he also said, you know what, if you don't have the horse, you don't have nothing. So he had the horse yesterday, and this guy looked good. I thought, Seth, this was a very interesting race because these horses look like they're pretty okay, but they all had questions to answer. And I thought Coffee with Chris ran very well first time around 2 turns. I thought he was fine, but Hayes Strike is the one who really answered the question yesterday.
And you're right. The 8-1, when you kind of look, I mean, I think folks may have been really influenced by the last start, but it was on the synthetic, and maybe the horse just didn't take to that. I had Jeremy Plonk on from horseplayernow.com a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking to 3-year-olds, and he does the countdown to the crown package. And he made the great point. Those fairgrounds stakes so far this year have been very productive. Some of the horses coming out of those have gone over to Oaklawn and won nicely. This one was at 4th in the Gun Runner back in December. So again, that fairgrounds trail has been very productive and is worth keeping an eye on as we move through the trail going forward. But it run 3rd, as you noted, in the Kentucky Jockey Club, 2nd in the Street Sense behind Two Phils and Instant Coffee. So yeah, 7-2 on the morning line. The betting public a little asleep though. But again, I think maybe the synthetic race just kind of was. People were concentrating on that more than they should have. Let me put it that way.
No, I think that's probably right. And obviously, I was surprised to see Coffee with Chris take all the money he took. Yeah. He has been good, but they've been pretty open that they were not sure he wanted 2 turns. And then you had the New York shipper that you mentioned, Register, who really no great excuse for his performance, I didn't think. But I think you're right. I think people looked at the synthetic race and tossed them, but that was obviously, in retrospect, that was a big mistake.
No, and just the fact Kenny McPeak elects to ship to Maryland, which isn't a normal move for him, is interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Hayes Strike does going forward now. All right, a little bit earlier on the card, it was the 3-year-old fillies. This one played out a little more logically, also with a Turfway shipper, but one that had done a little bit better on the synthetic. Comes in from William Walden, Elliot Walden's son, who is now training off a couple of 6.5 furlong sprints at Turfway, and they look pretty good. Lady Lowry is the horse I'm talking about, and she took the action at 9-5. Lady Lowry, the number 3 horse, as we watch the replay. Number 4, Happy Cloud, second, and Cairo Sugar, the number 7, runs third, coming in from New York as a New York bred. But Lady Lowry, again, the 2-for-2 record looked pretty good. Trainer William Walden walks away with the victory in the Beyond the Wire. Your thoughts?
This is a completely random aside, but I'll tell you what, these were the tall connections. Will Walden is a tall young guy, and Jockey Jack Gilligan is tall for a jockey. That was the first thing that struck me standing in the winner's circle. Like, wow, these guys are really tall. But no, this horse figured she had a very easy trip here, goes to the lead, moderate fractions, draws away nicely. You can't fault anything she did here. This was, as interesting as I thought the private terms was, this was a pretty tepid group of horses, particularly after the scratch of the morning line favorite or second favorite, Pharaoh's Baby Gal. So she did what she was supposed to do here. I'm not sure what conclusions we're going to draw from this just yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Between the two, the 3-year-old boys and the 3-year-old girls, Hayes Strike would seem to have a little more promise than Lady Lowry. Oh, it was only the third career start, so there still could be some upside potential there going forward. And yeah, Elliott is tall himself, Elliott Walden, and I think William Walden. I think the kid a few years ago was a little bit dominant in the jockey charity basketball game up here at Saratoga, if I remember correctly. So not surprising.
I would think he'd be pretty unstoppable in the jockey basketball game.
He was looking pretty good that day. Yeah. All right, let's go a little bit.
One interesting quick aside there is Walden said that they were actually looking at this race for a different horse in the barn, and then as they kind of worked them, they're like, this might fit Lady Lowry better. So they were going to zig, but they zagged, and that turned out to be the right move here.
That's always interesting when there is that late call that works out. So let's move a little earlier on the card. The Harrison Johnson Memorial. Again, talking yesterday with John, I said Our Nation on Parade was very interesting off the claim in September, and you have to think they claimed with that Maryland Millions in mind, and they came back and won that Maryland Millions, and then you thought, well, this could be an interesting horse throughout the winter, and just kind of hasn't lived up to that. So Our Nation on Parade was interesting yesterday, but given the win in the John Campbell, it looked like Nimitz Class had the edge, and that's the way it worked out. Nimitz Class is the number 5 on the replay at a short 3-5. Double Crown runs second, and the aforementioned Our Nation on Parade, the number 4 horse, runs third as the 7-2 second choice. But again, Nimitz Class for the second race in a row down there looks pretty good. Chart margin over 6 lengths, dominant victory.
Yeah, this horse really has moved forward in a pretty dramatic way. I was talking to the Bruce Kravitz, the trainer, and Tom Coulter, the owner and breeder. And Coulter said, I thought he was a sprinter, so we kept sprinting him. And finally, Bruce said, let's try stretching him out. And I said, really? Are you sure? I don't think that's a good idea. But they tried it, and the horse is now 4 for 4 going a mile or farther and getting better with every start. I mean, this, as you said, Our Nation on Parade is okay. American Patrol is okay. American Doro is okay. He killed those horses here. He absolutely dominated them. I believe you will see him in a graded stake next time out because he's clearly graduated from this group of horses. Whether that's going to be a race like the Pimlico Special or whether he's got even bigger plans, I don't know. And they were very playing all that close to the vest as horsemen tend to do. The whole, we'll see how he comes out of it, blah 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 thing. But I think it's pretty clear that they're thinking this horse has a higher ceiling than $100,000 races at Laurel.
Yeah, Pennsylvania bred, who started the career, he showed some promise early on, but it just seems like as he's now kind of gotten into the 4-year-old season, he's become notably better now as a late 3-year-old and now into the 4-year-old season. And it will be very interesting to see where they elect to go next.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's kind of neat to see a horse, when a horse gets a chance to develop, and it's nice to see them developing in that way. And this horse has just really improved. I mean, a couple races ago, you mentioned Our Nation on Parade. A couple races ago, you would have said, yeah, these horses are pretty even. And now they're not even close.
Yeah.
Now he just beat them by 6.5 lengths. So, he's still, there could still be more upside there, but even where he is right now, he looks pretty good. I mean, Double Crown is a graded stakes winner. Now he was a 40-1 graded stakes winner, but he is a graded stakes winner. So I think it's going to be fun to watch this horse. I asked Coulter why he named the Nimitz Class, thinking he would say something like he had been in the Navy or his father was in the Navy or something like that. He said, no, actually it's because he names all his horses alphabetically and they were on the ends, and it's really hard to come up with N names for horses. And he thought, it's a cool submarine, so we name it Nimitz Class. So that's where that came from.
I like that. All right, a couple of restricted stakes started out the card. Let's go back and take a look at those. The Not for Love, 6 furlongs the trip. The favorite in here was Eastern Bay. No surprise, was coming out of fourth in the Tom Fool, but the race before had won the General George. So Eastern Bay goes off as the even money favorite, but no better than third. It's Breezy Gus, the number 10 horse, the second choice at 2-1. And then 41-1, the longest price on the board. Kenny Had a Notion runs second in here, just getting a neck over Eastern Bay, the favorite. But Breezy Gus, the winner, just over a length is the margin as the 2-1 second choice. Your thoughts in the Not for Love?
This was a pretty neat race. The horse Breezy Gust, a nice effort, first stakes win for him at age 6. Also, the first stakes win for the trainer Josue Arce,
nice.
who was a jockey up until 3 or 4 years ago, and then picked up training and has an 11-horse stable. So he was very, very excited, and that was cool to see. And I thought this was a terrific ride by Dexter Haddock here. He if you watch the stretch run, he comes up on the outside, and he's I think he's got a little more horse than Eastern Bay, but he absolutely keeps Eastern Bay sealed in behind horses with no place to go. And he didn't foul him. And in fact, Will Humphrey, the rider on Eastern Bay, filed an objection, which was denied. But he just kept him with no place to go, and then he was able to win. It was a really, really good ride and a nice effort for this horse. And it's fun when you see the little guy get a stakes win. And these two races, the fifth race, the Conniver, the one we'll talk about in a second, and this race, both were for smaller barns that don't win tons of stakes. So always nice to see that.
Very good. Let's take a look at the Conniver. And yesterday I was calling it the Conniver, and the more I looked, I was wondering if it's the Conniver, but it is the Conniver?
It's the Conniver. Yep.
All right. I had it right yesterday. Very good. But we'll take a look.
There you go.
We'll take a look at that one. 7 furlongs to trip for the ladies. The favorite in here, Response Time, winds up pushing the pace early and winds up running 8th in the field of 8 at 1-2. Number 3, Response Time, but Marvelous at 26-1. And I will say, John Piasek yesterday mentioned this one as maybe a horse to take a look at a little bit of a price, and you did get the price there, $55 for Marvelous, getting it done in the Conniver. Your thoughts?
Well, good for John if he ID'd this horse. I mean, this is a horse that had just finished, was a belated third in a first level allowance the prior start. Didn't see much way this horse was going to win. On the other hand, didn't see much way Response Time was going to run as poorly as she did. I thought Street Loop ran a really good race here, kind of bouncing back to maybe move back towards some of her better form. I mean, she's a horse that's made I think over $600,000 in her career. Had kind of run a couple of off-color races, but I thought she ran very well to be second. But Marvelous, just a big effort there to come wide and rally late. I mean, this horse was almost 6 lengths behind leaving the furlong grounds and manages to get up. So this was a big effort. I talked to Carlos Mencia, the trainer, afterwards. I said, "What made you decide to come here?" And he's like, "Well, I talked to my owner. His brother gallops the horse, so he talked to Oscar, his brother. Oscar said, 'Yeah, let's take a shot.' So they took a shot, and turned out to be a good shot to take. So it was they were pretty excited. And this, you mentioned Jamie Rodriguez. This was his stakes win yesterday, and you'll probably do worse than just putting a couple bucks on everything he rides right now.
Well, when you get the guy in a hot streak like that and you look up and see 26-1, we're taking a little bit of a pop. Frank, always.
I wish I were that smart.
Yeah, no, I wish I was too. It's easy to add that logic afterwards. But you have to do that. You have to reverse engineer a little bit. And now in the future, now we know better. Hopefully. I'm knocking wood.
Maybe we'll learn. Yeah.
Frank, as always, appreciate the visit. Again, I'll tell people to swing by theracingbiz.com. Check out all the info there covering the Mid-Atlantic region in fine fashion. Again, appreciate the visit. We'll talk again.
Thanks very much, Seth. Look forward to it. Take care now.
Appreciate it. Frank Vespe from theracingbiz.com. Really nice stakes day yesterday at Laurel. Again, we'll have to see what Kenny McPeak does with Hayes Strike coming out of the private terms. He says either the Bluegrass or the Lexington. So they're thinking Kentucky Derby with that one. We'll see how it all works out. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America. I will remind you once again here at the Clubhouse Racebook today, College Hoops Madness, as round 2 will wrap up on this Sunday, the NCAA tournament. But you can come down and watch all the afternoon games here at the Clubhouse Racebook. And if you get here early enough, you put your name on the squares. If you match up scores, you get to spin the prize wheel, vouchers, giveaway items, merchandise. Always a lot of fun. As they say, some folks were getting $100 vouchers. We had gave away 3 of them on Thursday and Friday. So there's a chance to get a little extra something here. Horse racing and hoops, Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany this afternoon. And I will also and I'll remind you also that Fredelis has some food specials to match up with the hoops. So you can come down, grab some lunch or just an afternoon snack if you would like to. Here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. And again, next weekend, next Sunday, there will be a syndicate special. And about an hour from now, that will go live. The entry sign up will go live on the website. Go to capitalotb.com. Click on the promotions link, then look for the late pick 5, or look for the pick 5 syndicate banner. And you can sign up there. And again, as I say, that'll go live in about an hour, noontime today. So keep that in mind for next weekend's syndicate special. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America. Again, be back in a little bit, taking a look at some Aqueduct, some Gulfstream for Sunday afternoon. We'll throw some Oaklawn into the mix as well. So I'll probably squeeze in and kick things off after the NYRA pregame show, which I'm guessing an hour and a half or so, to kick things off for a Sunday afternoon. So we'll wrap it up. Sunday morning Racing Across America. Seth Merrow in the studio. Really always appreciate your tuning in. We'll see you in about an hour and a half or so for OTB Live. See you then. We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB throughout the championship meet. The Gulfstream Park Championship Meet runs now through the early April Florida Derby weekend, featuring high-quality racing throughout. Once again, we'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.